little confused because of all the complaints coming our way, and we're just trying to sort through the mess.
And I agree with you, Brett. The only part to that is that you've got the Rowan Center that's going to be on technically on their part of the land, and then the parks. But I don't see nothing that divides or keeps those skulls from being, laying down. And if you have any kids down there of any type, what I'm trying to I guess, I'm just thinking that we move forward with the park, but with some kind of recommendation that, some kind of storage or some kind of storage device needs to be placed, whether it's a fenced lot that they can put these skulls in. I'm just trying to protect any kids or whatever that's down there running around, even kids that, let's just say they're older, and because right now where the BRC is located now, like I said, there was 20 some odd skulls just laying there on the ground. Well, that's fenced off, right? You got to have gate access to get in, and we're not going to have that during park hours. If the park's open and those skulls are laying around, there's always a chance. So that's my only concern. But yes, I'm right there with you as far as just the parks.
I mean, this is ZIP, and that could be part of your recommendations if you chose to do so.
Exactly, and that's
make that a part of your recommendation. Whatever you guys decide, then we need to move forward with this.
Do we know what they currently do at their place now? And Dan, you might have said that, but I want to make sure. Do they currently keep their skulls stored at their site? Because I know at one point we had talked about where the parking lot was positioned, so they wouldn't have to carry their skulls so far. So
right now they're at the site. They're at the site down there right now. And like Dan said, I guess Dan has seen them. I guess point that out.
Yeah, I mean, if you just go and do a Google map right now and look at the aerial of the Riverside Marina area, and you would see the skulls. I think the last time I looked, I counted 20 some odd skulls laying on the ground around the area, right? So that's when I'm from the last meeting. If you remember, I asked Cynthia about that, and it's a concern, and it's something that as far as the boat storage area, that's something they didn't bring up, and that's just something that kind of weighed on me from a safety. I want to protect their assets, but I'd also want to provide some sort of safety from kids getting on things. So.
And I totally get that too. Are there currently their boats are at Riverside Marina? They're not on this piece of property that we're discussing. Is that right?
Correct.
So would they stay at Riverside until construction begins on the new site? And then at that point, they would be closer to the water.
That's correct. What I'm assuming, yeah.
Until a boathouse is built.
Yeah.
But is that their property or is that city property?
Where they're at now?
Where the skulls will be until a boathouse is built.
It would be on their property.
Yeah,
private property. The site map, it'd be on their property.
Yes, private property.
Do we get to, and I'm just asking because I don't know all of these things about how municipal laws work. Do we have the ability to tell them how they have to house those boats on their property?
Hi, this is Shelley with Planning and Zoning for the city. Can you hear me?
Yes, Shelley. Yes.
So the city evaluates, as was stated earlier, that there are zoning regulations and laws that dictate structure types and materials and so forth, and so that would be applied when they decide to build the structure. Then yes, that would be evaluated and would have to meet building code as well. You are certainly within your privy on this because it's a public-private partnership to make recommendations that were suggested earlier, such as ensuring that until a suitable structure is built, that they secure for the public safety of children in the adjacent park, the housing of their boats. So you can make that a recommendation to be considered by the council. And I'm sure it's in their best interest to ensure that their boats are safe as well and cannot be tampered with. So I'm sure they are working on a plan for that. We just do not know what that is at this time.
And this is zip. This is zip, and yes, their boats will be fenced in until the boathouse is finished. So that may help you some.
Zip or Shelly, you may know this also, and this may have already been answered, and I probably missed it, which would not be shocking at this point in the day. But has an environmental impact study been conducted on this piece of property?
If you're talking about an environmental one, which is associated with real estate transactions, I do not know the answer to that. That would not be required for the processing of a site plan.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So going back to what they just referenced, it's my understanding then at the last meeting, even in just discussion in general about this, even at the point that the city council approves, and then of course it starts to go through many levels of approval through different agencies, Duke Power, FERC, and all that. And it's talking about in the next couple of years. And as kind of what I believe Emily was saying, so is there a plan then to stay at Riverside until this is completed? Or, and I understand also that the park would be in phases, is what I understand, just because it's based a lot on the funding that BRC will continue to receive. So will they stay at Riverside until this construction begins?
I mean, even if this construction begins, it'll be a year and a half before they'll be able to use the site. Yes, I'm assuming they will stay at the property they're already at right now.
Okay. If I can just kind of make a comment too about with the HOA, I'm glad that they're going to have a chance to speak face to face, and they did. I sent you guys Monday and I do appreciate Ms. White, sending the recommendation or answering the questions of the concerns of them. And then they wrote back, obviously some recommendations that they thought, and honestly, a lot of them, it seems like, have been addressed. There was one general question about, the launches moving north, and I think there was some issue maybe with the shoreline or, just the general expense, I guess, of having to redo that, because I know this is the second go round with the site plan. But Shelley, this may be a question to you, but as the phases start with the, with the park itself, there were some questions on there, of course, about the natural barrier being between either 80 feet or 300 feet. There was a question about, any sort of covering around the porta-johns. There was some discussion about the future storage building. And even though I do know that that's on private property, because we have this joint, partnership, how much input does the city have on items like those in preparing for the park itself?
I'm sorry, had to remember to unmute myself. So, again, there are basic rights associated with zoning law, and to meet the city's requirements, there are buffer requirements which we will ensure they meet. Associated with the parking lot in between districts, and there's plenty of room there to ensure that that is achieved. as a board, you can make any recommendation you want if you think it's in the best interest of the public health and safety and so forth. And it really will be ultimately up to the council while they negotiate the agreement to see if they want to negotiate anything further above and beyond what is typically allowed by law. So you certainly can make recommendations, but ultimately it's up to council and laws really associated with private property development.
So when it comes down to like questions about, and honestly, this would be probably the first from beginning to end park project. I kind of came on board at the end of Kevin Lofton. And so I didn't really know a lot of those when you really get down to the details. So like there was a comment about lighting and things like that. So I guess when you get to that point, obviously we're in a partnership, so they would have some say so. Talked about it, and it can't be in the recommendations. But when it gets down to those exact decisions, the city will have some input, whether it's council, whether it's the zoning rules, whether it's
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, everybody
To answer
will.
your question, yes, we have a whole chapter on lighting, and we've already talked to them about trying to showcase, maybe do some lower type in height lighting, even solar, and so forth. So we will continue to discuss with them even above and beyond the minimum requirements of the ordinance. So you can ensure that we as planning staff are focused on that. Yes.
And does and I don't even know if this happens on a regular basis. If this happened, let's say with some maybe like Eb Gant, or I don't know as much about really. Well, there is a lot of residential, I guess, on one side of Kevin Lofton. Do you guys discuss like with the neighborhood, like how does it fit with the neighborhood? How does it fit? Do we want those kind of things? Is that how some of those decisions are made, or is it?
Well, again, everything's sort of based on zoning and difference in zoning districts. And yes, we do. The zoning ordinance does have things like buffers between residential districts and other districts. The lighting ordinance has a maximum amount of foot candles that it has to measure at the property line to ensure there isn't spillage onto the other property. This wouldn't be a site where we want sports lighting and so forth. So we do consider that all within the parameters of our zoning and law. Yes.
And people do have the right to come in and make comment process to state their views. So we do have that in place for people to come in and always speak. So they do have a say so, at least give their opinions and what's going on.
And that will continue even through as this park begins construction at some point.
Yes, we'll keep everybody up to date on what's going on, and especially the Recreation Commission and also the citizens who wants to be involved. We always give out public notices to everything we do in the city.
Okay.
So I'll just share that in a lot of cases, that's when we hear from adjacent residents more, as of course during construction, there's concerns and more questions, and we'll pull out the plans and talk to them. And if we can, well, first of all, I should say we always, when a resident contacts us and has issues that needs to be addressed, we do talk to the developer about what's been discussed with us and try to find some type of mitigation or correction if needed. But again, if someone comes in and says, oh, I just don't want it there, that's something different because they have certain rights under the zoning regulations as far as the use of their land.
All right. And Shelley, I guess Zip and yourself have been working with Miss White, on this project. And I know you guys have been working a long time. And I read the notes from her in regards to the original discussion about that it was originally discussed to go in the cove, and everybody's like, "Oh no, you can't. We don't need to. We don't need to do that." And of course, it was put on the other side of the peninsula.
Mhm.
Is there any option to continue moving it north, or is this really looking at their 13 acres? Is this really the best spot on that shoreline?
Um, Well, Cindy White's the best person to answer that, but I can tell you that this project has taken this long uh, because of trying to determine the best spot for the launches, the right depth of the water, the shape of the land, et cetera. And my understanding is this is the location. And once we file, that's why they're moving forward, because once we file for the FERC permit with Duke, the site plan can't change. So they have really met with Duke multiple times. They have tested the depth of the water, looking into shoreline stability, replanting, everything to ensure this is the right location. So that is my understanding that this is it.
Can I ask a follow up on that? Today I saw one of the comments mentioned that this area was zoned, or maybe this is a Duke thing more than a city zoning thing. It was previously zoned to be used for an actual marina with real boats at one point in time. And so, from what I understand, this park is mitigating the potential that this could have been used as a full-on marina with actual boats and docks in the cove itself.
Huh.
Um,
I
and
heard that.
that was in one of the emails earlier today. I don't recall who sent that.
Huh.
And
Well,
wasn't sure if that
I
came from
have not
2017, but
heard that.
it seems like we're helping mitigating that potential risk. I mean, marinas don't always age well. They're a lot noisier with dozens of
Yeah.
boats, pollution,
Yeah.
gas, oil spilled, etc.
Yeah.
And I think if another a second part is, I believe they're spending the BRC is spending an extra $100,000 because of the move out of the cove over to the point. And we have not heard from the community to the north, a lot less wealthy than the more vocal HOA that's closer to the project currently. It feels like a tug of war between a wealthy community and a poor community if we move it further away from the rich people to the community that doesn't have the time to get vocal and weigh their concerns. I'd also add, moving it further north might create more problems in other ways too. I think there's a benefit to having a distance buffer of that road coming in, both in terms of protecting the park when it's closed and a number of other things. I think if it's a longer drive, that's harder for people to quickly sneak in and go, make a quick access through the dock or something.
Well, I can't address any previous plan for marina there. I can tell you the existing zoning would allow that type of use, as well as some like industrial office warehousing like you see on that road coming to the site. So it's left over from so I'll say from the mill era. Look, I did check into its future land use designation in the comprehensive land use plan. And it actually was proposed in the future, if anyone proposed to rezone it, to be downzoned from that industrial park classification to what we call a traditional neighborhood development. That would be the potential for something similar to Eagle Park, where you would have a mix of housing types. You could even have multifamily on that property. So if somebody came in and were to ask us what is the potential in the future to redevelop this site and rezone it, we would we would reference the comprehensive land use plan and say, well, it was identified primarily for mixed housing. That includes multifamily, attached housing, single family, and it could have a small commercial component. So that is what we have in our approved documents for the city.
And I found where that was mentioned about the commercial residential marina, and it's in the response to the HOA question on page 12, about halfway down. It says the FERC shoreline management plan administered by Duke Energy classifies the shoreline on the north side of the cove as residential marina, meaning that a rowing or paddling dock would be allowed there. In fact, that would be one of the least intrusive uses allowed by the shoreline management plan, seeing as others could include anything from individual power docks to a neighborhood marina to gang docks for a multifamily development. Moreover, a private developer seeking to locate a residential marina or gang docks on this peninsula would, in all likelihood, locate them inside the cove. Given the high cost of shoreline stabilization along the main channel, that's probably more kind of hypothesizing for anything, but that's, I think, what you were mentioning, Brad.
That sounds familiar. So it's and Duke's zoning is different than the city's zoning. They've got their own licensing for what type of dock goes on the water, I believe. And
That's correct.
so just because they say it can be a marina, doesn't mean the city's saying that it can be a marina.
What do we want to proceed with this? I mean, I know we're kind of jumping around from here to there and everybody's making comments. Do you guys want to proceed with voting recommendation? Or what is this leading to?
I'll say that my general feelings are that, this was in our master plan. I think we've heard a lot about it. It seems like it's still pretty far off and needs to go through a number of other approvals and conversation. And I feel like at this point, we have done our due diligence by asking a lot of questions and making sure that the HOA is being taken seriously. And I would be fine to approve it, with some recommendations if that's what the group feels like is necessary. But I feel like we need to move this on to the next step of the process.
I agree.
I agree.
So let's back up and state your name and yay or nay on it.
Well, I would also like to say, does anyone, I think before we vote, it's important to say if we want to make sure that we're attaching recommendations to an approval.
Right. And I think we need a motion.
Right.
What recommendations are we attaching?
That's what I would ask you all. I mean, I would be fine to just approve it, or recommend to approve it. But I guess if anyone else on the board would like to attach any recommendations, I think that's what we just need to figure out.
I think the recommendation to what I would say is to the council is that, one, obviously we address their equipment, the skulls, that if they're fenced in or whatever that plan is, whether it's on their property right adjacent to the city, or whatever their temporary plan is, understand that before. And then obviously for the council, of course, to continue, to plan to meet with the HOA and talk with them.
Mm-hmm.
I would take that just a small step forward with that and recommend that, the skulls will be secured in some kind of lot, fence, whatever. But also with the porta-johns, making sure that they're screened as well. I guess that's my two things. That was a big thing from the HOA. I just want to make sure that, that's addressed up front.
So
But make recommendation in second and then vote on it. I think Emily, you have those recommendations.
Let's make sure there's no more. I think we should make sure we have no more recommendations before we make a motion.
Okay, well, go down the line and ask everybody.
I'm good.
Brett,
Mike Warsaw's good.
I'm
Brent.
good. This is bringing another park and more water access. I think that's good for all of Belmont.
I agree.
Okay, so I wrote these down. We would be approving with recommendation to have the skulls secured with fencing, for the council to continue meeting with the HOA, and Belmont Rowing Club continuing to meet with the HOA. And we would recommend porta-john screening.
Yep. And I would say, and can we add screening also to how they're going to secure the skulls? And the reason why I'm saying that is in the wintertime when there's no foliage, I mean, if you're looking straight across, you're going to see all these white Rowan skulls laying around on the ground. It would be, visually, and if they're secured with some kind of screening, maybe, it kind of stops that. So.
I know, but what if they cover them up with like bright blue tarp?
But it has to be something that's natural. I believe that's in the HOA concerns. I believe that's one of the things they talked about was the screening would be natural for the porta-johns.
Well, I can say that with the existing landscaping they proposed, when we get there, the supplemental screening for the parking lot and such, that will help quite a bit. We will work with them on that concern. You can certainly add that as a recommendation to work with them to add screening around the storage facility. There's no real requirement for that at that distance. If it was right on the waterfront, we would have we'd have the ability to say, well, you need this amount of buffer between the water's edge and your enclosure, because what was mentioned is right. So if someone proposes screening, I would be specific. If you wanted the secured fencing and you want some landscaping around it, I would make the recommendation that way. Because otherwise the screening could be the tarp type screening around the fence, and it might be a bright blue, and it may be more of an eyesore than just a plain fence, just sort of being screened through the landscaping. So
Yeah, I would agree. I would also go so far as to say, if we tell one property owner how they're supposed to screen the view of their boats, then we have to tell the whole HOA how to screen the view of their kayaks and their own boats. And there's a level of fairness there that doesn't come in. I think the distance and the way this is landscaped, I don't think the view of the boats is going to be, in my opinion, not an issue and not a fair one to judge. I do think for liability reasons and to separate the private portion of this public-private venture, it makes sense to recommend a fence and securing those boats from people that might trespass, maybe in a trespassing sign or something, but that's my 2 cents.
What if we say the recommendation is to secure skulls with fencing, and we would also recommend landscaping to go with that?
I think that's good.
That's good.
I like that.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right. Well, I will make a motion to approve with our recommendation.
Second.
Those approved?
Aye.
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 Those, thank you. Those opposed? Right. So we'll move forward with the recommendations, approval on the recommendations for the safety and security of the skulls, discussion with the HOA, and the porta-john screening with landscaping. That sound good?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. I look forward to continued discussions.
I feel like we might have just had a baby.
So our next thing on the agenda is the Recreation Center update.
Yes, the update you about the recreation center, we've been having focus group meetings. We have had 3 so far. They have went very well. And I'll be sending you guys an update of some of the numbers on that, some of the surveys. We did extend the survey until this coming Friday. So if you know of anybody that needs to take the survey, I haven't taken it to get that out to the public. We need all the comments we can on the for the surveys.
Zip, when you and I talked on Saturday, I had asked maybe if they would go ahead and put it back out on their Facebook page and stuff. Do you know if that was done? Because I think, maybe when it was done the first time, everybody was kind of maybe preoccupied a little bit with things going on. So maybe at this time, if we could send it back out, we might get a few more, possibly.
Okay, we'll do that.
I just think it wouldn't hurt. It doesn't necessarily cost anything to post it, and then maybe more people will share it at this time.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
But just I know Bree and Dan were on the call yesterday at lunchtime, and just to say, I thought it went really well. I did like the format of how they did things, and like for a meeting like this, to be able to put ideas up, and it was I thought it was pretty thorough as a startup of a focus meeting. So, and there was a good variety of different views, different recommendations, kind of things that what people would like to see. So I thought that was very well done.
I liked it. I liked the autonomy of it.
And we did have some people that did not attend, was not able to attend. I couldn't get logged in, but I'll be contacting those people and getting an update from them and see what they want as well. So I think everything went very well for the last 2 days on our focus group meetings.
I agree. How many more do we have, Zip?
That was the last one. The next step will be compiling all the data together, and then I'll be relaying that data information to you guys.
Okay.
And that's all I have on the Recreation Center update.
Okay. And then the Stowe Park improvements?
The Stowe Park improvements right now, we do have the pavilion up. The electrical has been installed. Right now they're doing the stonework. We're gonna be making improvements to the sidewalks. The railing should be installed probably within the next week or so. We did order a play unit for ages 2 to 5 year old. That's gonna probably be installed within the next 3 weeks. One of those components will be a spinner, because the spinner that we had down there was used so much that we felt like we needed another one down there. And this spinner will be a little bit different. It will have wheelchair accessibility, which will be great for the area down there.
Hey, Zip, this is Dan. I was down there last weekend, I believe, Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember which day it was. It looks fantastic. It's really going to look nice. That stonework really, really looks good. So good job with what's going on down there.
And we're saying probably early June, we should be finished with everything down there. So we're just waiting and seeing what the virus is going to do and how it's going to impact everything. But it's going to be a nice park, nice park.
Yeah. If you guys haven't been down there, I encourage you just to stop by and just take a peek. It really looks nice. It's going to be a really nice central point for us.
Okay. And then the last thing, the letter of support for the Abbey Greenway. I know you sent that letter out. Do you want to just give us a little description of that, and then
I'll let Shelly. You still on there? That's Shelly's baby. You still on there, Shelly?
No, it's actually Tiffany's project. She's on the line, so she'll share it.
Okay, go ahead, Tiffany. Tiffany,
you're on mute. Tiffany, you're on mute.
Muted. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. All right, perfect. So recently, the Carolina Thread Trail opened up a grant opportunity that we would like to apply for Project Trail Design, which is for up to $30,000 to cover design costs and preliminary engineering. And so we are interested in pursuing that for the possible design work to continue the Abbey Creek Greenway and extend upon the plans that were approved for the Morris project. That would include a portion of that greenway as well. City Council has already reviewed that grant opportunity and is in support of us applying, but what we are asking of you guys is to see if you are also in support of us applying, as we know that that was part of your latest master plan for Parks and Rec. And so we wanted to see if we can collaborate with you guys to hopefully make a stronger application. I am here to answer any questions you may have.
I have a quick question about this, and it's more, I'm in support of this. We had talked about getting a grant for something similar for Rocky Branch, for the portion that goes through the middle of Rocky Branch Park as well. I'm just wondering if
Sure.
twins and get 2 grants for the price of 1.
So they are, let's say they're cousins. What we've decided to do is collaborate with the Trailblazers. So the Trailblazers will actually be the applicant for the Rocky Branch Park portion as a nonprofit. And then the city of Belmont has decided to apply for possible design work for this Abbey Creek Greenway component. And that way we have 2 applications for our city, but done by different applicants.
Awesome. Yeah. Double my support.
Perfect.
Zip, is this something that we need a vote on?
Yes. Yes.
I make a motion to support.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany.
Yep, thank you
Thanks,
guys.
Tiffany.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Thanks.
Good job.
In other business, is there anything, Zip, that you have?
No, just we'll be trying to make some recommendations, seeing what we're gonna move forward with stage 2 of the virus. I think the governor just made his points out today, how we're gonna proceed. So we'll be probably making some changes. We probably won't be having any events or anything probably until August with any sporting events or anything like that. So it's still gonna be a while before we get back up and running at full strength.
Yeah. So I know you and I had spoke on Saturday, you know, I was just kind of asking too, just about anything from athletics to stuff like that. And at this time, it doesn't sound like there's going to be anything until the fall then for like sports leagues and things like that.
Correct. I mean, that could change. We'll be meeting on this, be constantly on this with city manager and talking to other cities and departments. So we'll be making adjustments as needed. I'll keep you guys.
Have you guys already canceled like the summer activities, the summer kids activities and things?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Okay. I wish, I understand we have to follow, obviously, and I know there's so many people in need right now of childcare and, just things to do. And I know like the YMCA, I know they're really working through a lot of stuff with their summer camps and anything. So I was just curious. I know that a lot of stuff is being canceled and there's just such a need, I think, for, that kind of thing. But again, with a future rec center, I think that might, help in situations like this. But anyway, that's just something that's kind of been on my heart for a little while, just because I deal with families a lot. So, any other business?
I've got a quick small thing. Zip, the park up in Linford Park near me, it's got some weeds growing up through the new mulch platform underneath the playground equipment. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I don't think it's a big deal, but I'm kind of wondering if there might be, I'm wondering if there's any kind of warranty on the construction there for how the weeds got through that mulch, because it's that, if everybody that's seen it, it's kind of glued all together. It's not free floating mulch. So there's weeds coming up through that somehow. And maybe a warning to whoever to the crews that are working out there. I would hate to see like a weed eater trimmer go through there and rip into that mulch trying to get at the weeds. It's underneath the equipment. It's going to be kind of tricky to get at. But just a heads up.
Okay, it is on the warranty, and I'll take a look at it and contact the installer it needs be. So we will look at that, and I will have David and some of his guys go out and look at it, and I'll look at it myself. But it is still in warranty.
Great.
And thank you guys for looking out at the parks and stuff. So this always let us know, because your eyes are valuable to us. So thanks for especially for Brett, for you doing that. And anybody else see anything else, just let us know.
All right, any other business? All right, Zip, we good? Make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
Dang, y'all have only been 50 minutes. You sure you don't want to just hang out?
We're getting some time back from last time.
Right.
That's right. Well, I'll move to adjourn.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
Thank you.